Does something feel a little strange with an older loved one lately? Like a quiet hunch you can't quite shake? Maybe they're barely chatting over their morning coffee. Or that garden they used to baby has turned into a jungle. We all think depression crashes in with big tears all out breakdowns. But for seniors, it's sneakier. It hides behind that, "Oh, they're just old" excuse. Truth is, these tiny hints can stick around for months, even years, and tons of families miss them until it hits them later, way after they could have helped. By then, the moment to jump in and light up their world is gone. In this video, we're spilling 5 big clues that a senior you adore might be fighting depression on the down low. Some you've maybe noticed but blamed on age. Others seem small but scream for attention. Catching them early means you can step up, bring warmth, and pull them back from the edge before it's too heavy. Hang with us till the end. These 5 signs will prepare you, heart and soul, to be their rock when it matters most. Once you spot these, no more surprises. You'll have the power to love them through it all. If this hits home, please like, share, and subscribe to keep these tips flowing. And toss a comment below with your take. Your words keep us going. Let's roll. One of the earliest red flags that a senior might be wrestling with something heavy is a shift in how they sleep. Or don't. Picture this: maybe you've noticed them wandering the house at strange hours. Their slippers scuffing the floor as they pace from room to room. Or perhaps they're just sitting there in the dark, staring into space, unable to wind down. On the flip side, you might catch them sleeping way more than they ever did before. Nodding off in their favorite recliner all afternoon. The TV buzzing in the background. Or lingering in bed long after the sun's climbed high. Sheets tangled around them. At first glance, it's tempting to chalk it up to the wear and tear of old age or a rough night that anyone could have. After all, who doesn't have trouble sleeping now and then? But for seniors, these changes in sleep habits can whisper something far more serious. Something that goes beyond a creaky body or a restless mind. Depression has a sneaky way of throwing the body's natural rhythm out of whack, like a clock that's lost its speed. For some, it's the kind of sleeplessness that gnaws at them. Those endless nights where their brain just won't shut off. They lie there, eyes wide open, tangled in worries that feel bigger in the dark, fears about their health fading, doctor visits piling up, or bills they're not sure how to stretch. Maybe it's the sting of losing independence, needing help with things they once did solo, like driving to the store or buttoning a shirt. Those thoughts circle like vultures, keeping rest out of reach. For others, it's the opposite. They dive into sleep like it's a lifeboat, a way to escape a world that doesn't sparkle the way it used to. Maybe the house feels too quiet now, with kids grown and gone, or friends they used to laugh with aren't around anymore. Sleep becomes their hideout, a place to dodge the emptiness that creeps in when they're awake. But here's the thing. It's not just about whether they're getting enough shut-eye or not. It's so much more than that. It's a signal, a quiet SOS from their spirit, telling you something's weighing them down. Their energy is draining, their zest for life flickering, and their body's showing it in the only way it knows how. You might catch them snapping at little things during the day, grumbling about the toast being too cold or the dog barking too loud. Or maybe they seem fuzzy, like their thoughts are stuck in molasses, forgetting where they parked the car or what they meant to say. It's easy to shrug it off and say, "Oh, they just didn't sleep well," and leave it at that. We've all had those groggy mornings, right? But when it's not just one off night, when it's a pattern that sticks around, week after week, and they keep saying they're exhausted even after sleeping for hours, that's when it's time to perk up your ears. That's not normal tiredness. That's a clue something's out of balance. Something deeper than a lumpy pillow or a noisy neighbor. And let's be real, this isn't the kind of problem you can patch up with a quick fix. A cup of warm milk might soothe a restless kid, and a fancy new mattress might help a sore back. But this runs deeper than that. This is about emotional unrest. A storm brewing under the surface that's shaking them up in ways they might not even put words to. If you see this happening with a senior you care about, your grandma who used to hum while she cooked, your dad who'd stay up late tinkering in the garage, don't brush it aside like it's no big deal. It's not just one of those things. It's a window. A chance to step in softly. Maybe sit with them over a cup of tea and ask how they're really doing. It's your shot to let them know you're there. That they don't have to carry it alone. Because when you spot this sign, you're not just seeing a bad night. You're seeing their heart reaching out. Asking for a lifeline. One of the hardest signs to spot. And honestly, one of the most gut-wrenching, is when a senior you love stops caring about the things that used to set their world on fire. Think about it, maybe they were the type to knit cozy blankets for their grandkids. Their needles clicking away while they beamed about who'd get the next one. But now the yarn sits in a dusty basket, untouched for months. Or picture them out in the yard, hands in the dirt, fussing over their roses like they were prized treasures. Only now, the garden's a tangle of weeds, overgrown and wild, and they don't even bat an eye. At first, you might figure it's no big deal. Age slows everyone down eventually. Right? Joints get stiff, energy dips, and maybe they're just taking it easy. But when depression creeps in, it's not about slowing down. It's something deeper, something sadder. It dims the joy in what once mattered most. Like a light switch flipped off in their heart. This isn't just about being too tired to pick up the knitting needles or prune the bushes. It's a quiet fading, a slow drift where the heart doesn't feel that old, familiar tug anymore. For seniors, when depression takes hold, it's like the brain gets bogged down, weighed heavily with a fog that snuffs out the spark. Those little routines and hobbies that used to define their days, they stop lighting up. A game of cards with friends, once a rowdy, laughter-filled ritual, starts feeling like a chore. The deck left scattered on the table. That favorite show they'd never miss. The one they'd recap with you scene by scene. Now the TV stays off, or they stare through it, uninterested. Even the small joys that used to pepper their days, like sipping a warm cup of tea on the porch, watching the birds flit by, lose their shine. The mug growing cold in their hands. They might toss out a casual, "Oh, I'll get to it later," brushing it off like it's nothing. But deep down, they're just as confused as you are about why the drive vanished. What makes this so tough is they probably won't come out and say it. They're not going to sit you down and confess, "I don't care anymore." Instead, they'll nod along when you mention the old days. Maybe force a smile to keep you from fretting. Their eyes dodging yours so you don't see the emptiness behind them. They're trying to shield you, or maybe themselves, from admitting something's wrong. But if you look close, if you see them pulling back from the stuff that used to define who they were, it's a glaring sign their inner world is darkening, slipping into shadows they can't quite name. And here's where it gets tricky, this fading can snowball. Less activity means more hours alone, staring at the walls all lost in their head. And that isolation only feeds the gloom, piling on until it's a weight they can't shake off. For families, watching this unfold can twist your heart in knots. You want to fix it, to bring back the person they used to be. It's so tempting to nudge them, hand them the knitting needles, drag them out to the garden, insist they shuffle the cards for one more game. But pushing too hard can backfire. They might dig in their heels, snap at you, or retreat even further, frustrated that they can't just snap out of it. The better move, pull up a chair, sit with them, and ask what's on their mind. No pressure, no agenda. Let them know it's okay to feel this way, that they don't have to pretend for your sake. If you catch this fade in a senior you care about, your mom who'd knit through every holiday, your grandpa who'd prune roses like an artist, don't let it slip by unnoticed. It's not just a phase or a quirk of aging. It might be their soul, quietly reaching out, begging for a lifeline to pull them back to the light. Another sign that can slip right past you is when a senior's patience starts fraying at the edges, turning into something you barely recognize. Imagine someone who was always the calm one. Maybe they'd laugh off life's little hiccups with a shrug, now barking over a misplaced remote, their voice sharp as they demand, "Where'd it go this time?" Or maybe it's a loud noise, the neighbor's lawnmower roaring to life, that sets them off, when they used to just smile and wave through the window. Then there's the roller coaster of their moods. One day they're full of stories, chatting your ear off about the old days over breakfast, and the next, they're stone silent or biting your head off for asking a simple question. You might brush it off, pin it on a bad day, a sleepless night, or those achy joints that come with age. But if this grumpiness keeps popping up, more frequent than a passing storm, it's time to take a closer look. Depression in seniors doesn't always show up the way we expect, with tears streaking down their face or a heavy sigh you can't miss. Sometimes, it's sneakier than that. It dresses up as a grumpiness they can't shake off, a restlessness that hums under their skin like static. The mind, weighed down by things like loneliness or the sting of losing people they loved, starts to wobble, struggling to keep that steady, even-keeled calm they once had. Little annoyances, the dog barking, a spoon clattering in the sink, bloom into giant frustrations, way out of proportion, and they might not even clock how short-tempered they've gotten. They snap, they grumble, and then they move on, oblivious to the trail of tension they've left behind. For some, it's more than just a bad mood. It's guilt or frustration bubbling up from inside. Maybe they feel useless now that they can't fix the sink or mow the lawn like they used to. Or they feel trapped in a body that won't cooperate. And that anger spills out onto whoever's closest. It's easy for families to miss what's really going on here. You see them snap at you, maybe over something tiny, like forgetting to turn down the radio, and your first instinct might be to take it personally. Why are they mad at me? You wonder. And maybe you snap back, turning it into a tug-of-war of sharp words. But that just widens the gap, pushing them further into whatever's eating at them. The truth is, it's not about you. It's about what's churning inside them. And what matters most is looking beyond the bite. If they're testier than usual, quicker to grumble about the smallest things, or just seem unsettled in a way that doesn't fit who they've always been, it could be depression slipping on a disguise. It's not the sadness we picture. It's irritation, a prickly shell hiding something softer and sadder underneath. This is where you've got a choice. A moment to step up differently. It's tempting to meet their sharpness with your own, to argue back or walk away in a huff. But that won't help. Instead, it's a chance to stay steady, to keep your cool when they've lost theirs. Try asking soft questions. Hey, everything okay today? Not to pry, but to open a door. Let them unload if they need to, even if it's just a grumbled rant about the mail being late. Spotting this early doesn't just mean noticing the mood swings. It's about paving the way for real support, for conversations that might peel back the layers and get to what's hurting. If you're seeing this in a senior you love, your aunt who used to be all smiles, your dad who joke through anything, don't let it slide as just how they are now. It could be a signpost to something deeper. And hey, if you're still watching and finding this helpful, drop number 3 in the comments to let me know you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on the bell. Your support keeps us rolling with more insights like this. Here's a sign that slips under the radar far too often. They start grumbling about aches and pains that don't seem to have a rhyme or reason. Picture your loved one rubbing their temples, muttering about a nagging headache that's been hanging around like an uninvited guest. Or maybe they're wincing as they stand, blaming stiff knees that creak louder than the floorboards, or clutching their stomach, saying it's been off for days, too queasy for their usual oatmeal. You nudge them toward the doctor, figuring a checkup will sort it out. Maybe a pill or a tweak to their diet will do the trick. But the appointment comes and goes. The doc shrugs and says, "Nothing major here." And yet the discomfort sticks around, stubborn as a stain. It's so easy to nod and say, "Well, that's just aging for you." Bodies wear out, don't they? After all, who doesn't get a little creaky past a certain age? But for seniors, this could be more than joints slowing down or years piling up. It's depression settling right into their bones. Quiet but heavy. The mind and body? They're old friends, always chatting back and forth, and when the heart's dragging, weighed down by sadness or worry, that conversation turns into a loud complaint you can't ignore. It shows up as pain. Real, physical pain that they feel in every step, every turn of the head. Stress twists their muscles into knots. Like ropes pulled too tight, sadness churns their stomach into a mess, leaving them bloated or uneasy. And if there's already a twinge from age, an old injury, a touch of arthritis, it amplifies it, cranking the volume until it's all they can focus on. They might not come out and say, "I'm down," or "Life's getting to me." Heck, they might not even know that's what's happening. Instead, their body's waving a flag, sending up flares in the only language it's got left. What's tricky, though, is they're likely convinced it's all physical. They'll swear it's the arthritis flaring up again. Or maybe a bug they picked up that just won't quit. "I'll shake it off soon," they insist, popping an aspirin and hoping for the best, not realizing the root's buried deeper than a pill can reach. But here's the kicker. If these gripes keep coming back, like a song stuck on repeat, especially alongside the other signs we've talked about, it's a hint something emotional's simmering under the surface. It's not just a random ache or a fleeting bellyache, it's a clue. A nudge that their spirit's wrestling with something they can't name. For families, this is brutal to watch. You see them wince when they sit, hear them groan about that headache again, and you feel powerless. How do you fix a pain with no X-ray to point to? It's tempting to dismiss it, to say, "They're fine, just getting older," and move on. But don't brush it off like it's nothing, because it's not. Instead, try sitting with them, asking how they're feeling beyond the aches, beyond the knees or the stomach. "How's your day been otherwise?" you might say. Soft and easy, no pressure, a kind word, a gentle ear. It could crack open a door they didn't even know was locked, revealing more than any prescription bottle ever could. If you're noticing this in a senior you care about, your mom who used to dance around the kitchen despite her bad hip, your uncle who'd shrug off a cold with a laugh, don't let it slide under the rug. It's not just their body talking, it's their heart, their mind, reaching out in a way they might not understand themselves. This is your chance to dig deeper, to show you're listening, really listening, not just to the complaints but to what's behind them. It's not about playing doctor or forcing a cure. It's about being there, offering a steady hand, and letting them know they're not alone in whatever's aching, inside or out. The final sign might catch you off guard, slipping out in one of those still, quiet moments when the room feels heavy with something unsaid. A little comment that lodges in your mind and won't let go. Maybe they're staring out the window, coffee gone cold in their hands, and they mutter, "I don't know why I bother anymore." Their voice soft but edged with something raw. Or perhaps they let out a sigh over dinner and say, "Life's not what it used to be," like it's just a passing thought, a tired breath. It might sound casual, offhand even, but don't be fooled. These words carry weight, heavy as stones dropped into still water. Depression in seniors often wraps itself in this kind of quiet drift, a sense that they're floating aimlessly, unmoored. Like the days don't hold much purpose anymore. They're not going to sit you down and declare, "I'm depressed," with a big dramatic reveal. No, it's subtler than that. You'll catch it in those off-the-cuff lines. The ones that sneak up on you. "I'm just worn out," they might say. Or "What's it all for anyway?" At first, you might brush it off as nostalgia, A little trip down memory lane. After all, who doesn't look back sometimes and miss the hustle of younger years? The house full of kids' laughter. The busy days of work and friends. But if these remarks keep creeping in, popping up like weeds in a garden they used to tend, it's more than reminiscing. It's their mind waving a signal flag, hinting at a struggle they might not even fully see. This isn't about them throwing in the towel or giving up on life outright. It's something stickier, murkier, a feeling of being trapped in a haze they can't push their way out of. Like walking through fog with no end in sight. For some, it shows up quietly. They stop talking about tomorrow, no longer mentioning the trip they wanted to take or the recipe they meant to try. The future just fades from their chatter, replaced by a shrug or a blank stare. For others, it's heavier. Those words hinting at a deeper emptiness. Like a well that's run dry, where they wonder if there's any point to keeping on. Either way, subtle or stark, it's a sign they're wrestling inside, grappling with something that's pulling them under. What's tough is how it leaves families standing there, unsure of their next step. You hear them say, "I'm just worn out," for the third time that week, and you freeze. Do you try to cheer them up, crack a joke, and hope it snaps them out of it? Or do you give in, ask what's wrong, and risk them clamming up? It's a tightrope walk, and there's no playbook to flip open. But here's the thing, the best move isn't about fixing it or filling the silence with pep talks. It's about listening close, really close, leaning in when they let those words slip out, catching them like fragile threads before they blow away. Let them know they're not alone in that haze, that you're right there beside them, steady and present. Maybe it's just sitting quiet with them, letting the moment breathe, or saying, "I'm here," you know, soft enough that it doesn't scare them off. If you hear this from a senior you love, your grandma who used to plan every holiday down to the napkins, your dad who dream up projects for the garage, don't let it pass by like it's nothing. It's not just a sigh or a grumble. It's an opening, a crack in the wall they've built, and it's your chance to step in with care. To reach out with a hand they can hold on to. This isn't about dragging them back to who they were. It's about meeting them where they are, right in that drift, and showing them they still matter. Those little comments, they're not throwaways. They're their heart whispering through the fog, asking you to see them, to stay close. Don't miss it. Let's wrap up with what we've uncovered: sleep troubles, fading interests, snappiness, unexplained aches, and talk of feeling lost. These 5 signs might not shout depression at first, but they're the quiet ways it seeps into a senior's life. They might not hit all at once, and they're easy to mistake for raging. But when you piece them together, it's a call to notice. For many, catching these early can mean the difference between silent hurt and finding light again. It's not about curing them. It's about being present, offering a hand, and reminding them they still matter. Understanding these hints isn't about dread, it's about readiness. You can check in, share a quiet moment, and make sure they feel valued. If you're seeing these signs in a senior you love, pause, breathe. You're not helpless. You've got the tools to brighten their day, one small gesture at a time. Thanks for watching today. Leave a comment below with one thing you learned and how you'll use it. Your thoughts mean the world to us. If this video hit home, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep creating content to inform and inspire. See you in the next one.